For decades, Manchester United was more than a team. It was dominance. It was global. It was inevitable. Under Sir Alex Ferguson, Manchester United didn't just win trophies. It defined an ERA. Premier League titles stacked up. Champions League nights lit up Old Trafford. Commercial deals exploded worldwide. The club became one of the most valuable sports brands on earth. And then, something changed. Not on the pitch, on the balance sheet. In 2005, the Glazer family completed a leveraged buyout of Manchester United. They didn't use their own fortune to buy the club outright. They used debt, hundreds of millions of pounds of it, secured against the club itself. Overnight, Manchester United went from debt-free to heavily leveraged. Fast forward nearly 2 decades. The club has paid well over £1 billion in interest, fees and debt-related costs. Net debt has hovered around £500 million in recent years. Protests have become routine. Fans chant about ownership more than tactics. Old Trafford decays while rivals modernize. Now, you might be thinking this is just modern football. Big money, big debt, big business. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Manchester United didn't simply struggle in the post-Ferguson era. It became financially trapped. And that trap began the moment the club was turned into a debt machine. To understand how Manchester United became one of the richest, yet most financially constrained clubs in the world, we need to break the story into 5 chapters. The takeover, the leverage, the illusion of growth, the sporting cost, and the stalemate. In 2005, the Glazer family acquired Manchester United in a deal worth approximately £790 million. But this wasn't a traditional purchase. It was a leveraged buyout. That meant borrowing heavily to finance the acquisition, securing loans against the club's assets, transferring the debt onto Manchester United itself. Before the takeover, United had minimal debt. Afterward, it carried hundreds of millions. The club now had interest payments, refinancing obligations, financial covenants. And here's the crucial shift. Instead of profits being reinvested fully into infrastructure, squad development, stadium upgrades, a significant portion was now used to service debt. From that moment forward, Manchester United had 2 missions: compete at the highest level, service massive financial obligations. That tension would define everything that followed. Debt is not automatically fatal, but leveraged debt attached to a sports club introduces fragility. Over the years, Manchester United refinanced its loans multiple times. Bonds were issued. Interest structures changed. Some debt was repaid. But the core reality remained. The club owed hundreds of millions. By some estimates, more than £1 billion has left Manchester United in interest payments, refinancing fees, and dividends since the takeover. That money could have rebuilt Old Trafford, modernized training facilities, strengthened recruitment systems. Instead, it left the ecosystem. Now you might argue, United still spent heavily on players. That's true. But spending money and spending wisely are not the same thing. And when debt exists, flexibility shrinks. Every transfer window becomes riskier. Every missed Champions League qualification becomes more dangerous. Every revenue dip matters more. Debt doesn't just cost money, it costs margin for error. If you like this video, please subscribe so we can hit 5,000 subscribers this week. Now, let's move on with the video. On paper, Manchester United remained a commercial powerhouse. Sponsorship deals grew. Broadcast revenue surged. Global fan engagement expanded. For years, revenue charts moved upward. But revenue growth masked a structural problem. While rivals invested in stadium upgrades, data-driven recruitment, and a long-term footballing philosophy, Manchester United's financial architecture was constrained. The club was paying interest, paying dividends, and managing refinancing risk. Growth looked impressive, but underneath, the system was tight. Old Trafford, once the theatre of dreams, began to show visible decay. Leaking roofs, outdated facilities, stadium capacity limitations compared to rivals. In a different financial reality, those upgrades might have come earlier. But leverage changes priorities. Maintenance becomes optional. Servicing debt is not. After Sir Alex Ferguson retired in 2013, Manchester United entered a cycle of managerial change and strategic confusion. David Moyes, Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Erik ten Hag. Each manager arrived with a new vision. Each required new players. Each left before the project stabilized. Now, managerial instability happens at many clubs, but at Manchester United, it carried a heavier cost. Why? Because mistakes were expensive. And expensive mistakes were magnified by financial obligations, high transfer fees, large wages, minimal resale value. Without cohesive long-term planning, spending became reactive, and reactive spending under debt pressure compounds risk. The club could still afford big names, but it could not afford systemic failure. Over time, the tension between commercial strength and footballing weakness grew more visible. Revenue remained elite. Performance fluctuated. The brand survived. The dominance faded. Today, Manchester United sits in a strange position. It is one of the richest clubs in world football and one of the most commercially powerful brands in sport, yet persistently unstable on the pitch. Debt remains substantial. Ownership remains controversial. Fan protests continue. The club is not bankrupt, it is not collapsing, but it is constrained, too big to fail and too leveraged to breathe freely. And here is the most revealing dynamic. Any new owner would inherit debt structures, infrastructure backlog, enormous expectations. The past cannot simply be erased because leverage lingers. So did debt single-handedly destroy Manchester United? No, but it reshaped its destiny. First, debt turned success into obligation. Winning was not just ambition, it was necessity to maintain revenue stability. Second, the margin for error disappeared. Missed Champions League seasons became financially dangerous. Third, infrastructure fell behind. Old Trafford's decline was not symbolic. It was structural prioritization. Fourth, ownership and fans diverged. When dividends are paid during underperformance, trust erodes. Fifth, the club became a financial asset. First, football became one layer of a larger balance sheet equation. And here is the hardest truth. Manchester United did not collapse after 2005. It endured, it competed, it spent, it remained globally relevant. But it did so under a ceiling, a financial architecture that constantly pulled resources away from long-term renewal. Over time, that ceiling became visible, not as bankruptcy, but as stagnation. The club that once set the standard now chases it, not because it lacks money, but because part of that money was always spoken for. The leveraged buyout did not destroy Manchester United overnight. It trapped the club in a slower, quieter compromise, between glory and obligation, between ambition and interest payments. And until that tension is resolved, the club will remain what it has been for years: enormous, powerful, and financially constrained. Fade to black. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe. We want to hit 5,000 subscribers this week. Thanks for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.